begin with that United this evening as they maintain their lead at the top of the Nigeria Professional League table thanks to a 5-1 win against FC Fanyuba in Jos, and it's their 5th victory in 8 games. Sunshine Stars of Akure picked an impressive 3-0 away win against Adamawa United. Kwara United, who is returning to the MPFL in place of Delta Force, suffered a 1-0 defeat to Heartland FC in their first home game in Ilorin. Jigawa Golden Stars beat Warri Wolves 2-1. Another fixtures played this evening. Lebi Stars of Makodi edged out Abia Warriors by a lone goal. Dakar FC stunned Aimba of Aba 2-1. Rivers United beat Katsina United 2-0. 2 fine goals and an assist for Kevin De Bruyne inspired Manchester City to a 3-0 win over a woeful Arsenal in the English Premier League on Super Sunday. The Manchester City of old turn up in the first half, racing into a 3-0 lead before the break, largely down to a De Bruyne masterclass. He put City ahead with a brilliantly controlled rebound at half-volley before squaring for Raheem Sterling to double their lead. Mason Greenwood scored this third goal in 3 days, his third goal in 3 days, to rescue a point for Manchester United at Old Trafford, as Everton interim manager Duncan Ferguson remains unbeaten. A late header by Jan Vortingen saw Spurs escape with a 2-1 win after a huge lead-testing encounter against Wolverhampton Wanderers at Molineux. Tiger Woods says trust played a crucial role in the United States' victory over the international team at the President's Cup. The United States won the biennial event 16-14 after dominating the singles matches at Royal Melbourne after Matt Kuchar rolled in the winning putt in the 17th hole in his match against Dewi Oosthuizen. Now, Woods, who doubled as both captain and player for Team USA, has also been speaking on his chances of leading the team at the next edition of the competition in Charlotte in 2021.
As the captain and player, it was a juggling act, but the guys understood that. We knew that. We communicated that going in. There were a lot of different plans that could happen, and I trusted all of them. From all the 11 players with Strix and Cups and Zach as our vices, it was trust in each other, and that's what ultimately won us the cup. We are going to have those conversations in the future, but not right now. We're going to enjoy this one moment.
Meanwhile, Internationals captain Ernie Els is taking the blame for his team's defeat to the United States at the President's Cup, but defended his Sunday pairings after crumbling at Royal Melbourne. The Internationals brought an overnight 10-8 lead into the final day, but bowed out 16-14, winning only 2 of the 12 singles and halving 4. Els put 5 of his 7 debutants in the first 7 matches, and only Im Sung-jae stood up with a 4-3 win over Gary Woodland.
You know, I really felt that our team play was really the core of our team, you know, and that never was. You know, we never, felt like we could play foursomes or four-ball together as a team. So we did that well. I could have made different choices in the singles today. I can take it on my shoulders. It is what it is. You know, the questions will come from you guys and from the public that, I made mistakes in the selection of where I put my players, but I've followed a plan, 100%, and it didn't quite work out.
And on the international scene, delegates at the UN climate talks in Madrid have been urged to show flexibility as they struggle to reach an agreement on crucial measures needed to tackle climate change. The negotiations, which were scheduled to end on Friday, continued throughout Saturday and into Sunday morning. Chile's Environment Minister Carolina Schmidt, who is presiding over the talk, said a deal was almost there, but the outcome needed to be ambitious.
After many long hours, this brings us all to the end of the COP. I declare the 25th session of the Conference of the Parties closed.
After much frustration, confusion and fatigue which dominated the climate change summit, COP25 finally ended in Madrid with a compromise deal. It is the longest United Nations climate talks on record. The negotiations, which were scheduled to end on Friday, continued throughout Saturday and into Sunday morning. Exhausted delegates reached agreement on the key question of increasing the global response to curbing carbon emissions.
Parties, we are ending our process. This is a party-driven process. The presidency have done all the efforts to put you together, to give the opportunity to find an agreement. Distinguished delegates.
After 2 extra days and nights of negotiations, all countries will now need to put new climate pledges on the table by the time of the next major conference in Glasgow next year. All parties will need to address the gap between what the science says is necessary to avoid dangerous climate change and the current state of play, which would see the world go past this threshold in the 2030s.
The UK's Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn, has apologised to Labour supporters over his party's heavy defeat in the general election. Mr Corbyn's apology in an article in the Sunday Mirror and The Observer acknowledged the party's failings in the poll while he accepted his responsibility for it. It comes as 2 likely leadership candidates, Lisa Nandy and Jess Phillips, have set out their bids to succeed Mr Corbyn. It will include a commitment to enshrine increases in spending on the NHS in England in legislation. Prime Minister Boris Johnson won a Commons majority of 80 in Thursday's general election, his party's biggest election win for 30 years, sweeping aside Labour in its traditional heartlands. In contrast, Labour suffered its worst election result since 1935 and saw its vote share fall by 8 points. One more person has died as a consequence of the eruption of New Zealand's White Island volcano, bringing the official death toll to 16. Police say the victim, who has not been identified, died in Australia while being treated in hospital. About 20 other people remain in intensive care with severe burns. Meanwhile, recovery teams returned to the volcanic island on Sunday, but were unable to locate 2 remaining bodies. 8 police search and rescue personnel were deployed for 75 minutes to an area in which at least one of the bodies was believed to be. There have been no further significant activity in White Island since last Monday's eruption, but the risk of eruption remains. And the main news again. The Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority today assured Nigerian passengers that Turkish Airlines will return their remaining baggage latest by this Tuesday, December the 17th. We also brought you a report that the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, today said it is impressed with its victory at the first round of the legal tussle to compel the federal government to disclose details of $460 million Abuja CCTV project. Also today, Channels Television, your home for the news, won the Nigeria Media Merit Award as the best television for a record 13th time. And the United Nations Climate Conference delegates have set a goal to cut carbon emissions by the end of 2020. They're also working to reach an agreement on crucial measures to tackle the global challenge. And that's the news at 10 tonight. I'd like to thank you for being a part of it. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and a great week ahead.